All right. Well, that was Fantasy Forward, everybody. Let's move on to our next section, which is going to be about defenses. Now, let me preface you guys right here. So every single freaking sports show talks about where quarterbacks rank and how good is this quarterback and how good is that quarterback. And I got to be honest, I'm kind of bored with it because defense wins championships, folks. Defense. Okay. And quarterbacks get all the girls and all the credit, but defense wins championships. So we went through a bunch of defensive stats. We pulled all kinds of things. I did like a ranking system based on like how they did in certain categories. I think we had about 22 categories. And then we kind of ranked them based on like their total average performance in a lot of different categories, from sack percentage, interception percentage, average depth of target, like rushing yards allowed, TDs allowed, all that stuff, right? And so it was surprising to see some of the teams at the top, right? One of those teams at the top, maybe because they played Minnesota, but was the Atlanta Falcons. So, Dave, this is one of your top 5 defenses you wouldn't want to play this week. Tell me why you got the Falcons on there.
I like Raheem Morris. He's a defensive-minded coach. He also coached over at Tampa Bay, so he got to learn from a pretty smart defensive mind over there. He does well with his players. So what does a defensive-minded coach do? They go out and they say, okay, one of our biggest issues that we have is pass rush. So they go out and they get 2 pass rushers right away in the first round. They go out and they sign Leonard Floyd as a free agent. The Bears drafted him. He's solid at pass rush. He's great at getting pressure. He wasn't so good in the run game, but he fits the system. They have speed all day. And like you said, it's tough to say exactly what they did against the Vikings because the quarterback didn't look so hot, but I think the Falcons had a fair amount to say with that. And I think that with this scheming and whatnot, I think that the head coach, the talent that they have, the speed that they have, they don't go for the big guys. So they're just going to get in. They're going to be aggressive at you. And I think it's going to be very effective. And you're also considering that division outside of Tampa. I don't think you're really scared about the other two offenses with the Saints and the Carolina. So that's going to help to pad their stats over the course of the year as well.
Yeah, I liked what the Falcons have been doing. Even when they played Tampa Bay, they were good. So that's why they're ranked so high. They had a good game against Tampa Bay and then a really good game against Minnesota. I don't have them on there just because I'm a little bit more pessimistic long-term about their pass coverage, but I almost put them in there. I snuck in my Seahawks, my secret pick to make the playoffs just to make myself feel better. But no, I stuck in the Seahawks kind of for the same reason. Like I thought they had 2 good games. They played the 49ers. Yes, the 49ers don't have all their weapons, but Purdy, they got 3 picks on Purdy. He did not look good that game, and it kind of took a miracle for them to get that second touchdown. And then they took on Mr. Aaron Rodgers and got him picked off a few times, made him look really bad in that game. So far, so good for the Seattle Seahawks. So I threw them up there. Like I said, I predicted them to be a good defense this year. So I kind of had to back myself up on that one. So yeah, because we're really similar on a lot of these, right? We have them maybe in different positions, but our 5th was a little bit different. So Doug's got the Eagles in there. Still belief in the Eagles. Tell me why you think they're the 5th most scary defense.
They're going down the rankings. They would have started the season for me 1 or 2, maybe with the Broncos and stuff. Both of them have slid down there. And I almost kicked them out of the top 5, but their EPA ratings in the red zone is they're ranked number 1 in the entire league in the red zone. So that shows that like when they really need to shore up, they can play good defense. So I'm like, all right, they deserve to still be in my top 5. But like we talked about earlier in the program, like overall, their defense is not this crazy monster defense that you're worried about so much anymore. So, and I have the Browns and some other teams that are really close up there. Even the Jaguars have been playing well on defense, EPA-wise. Yeah. So, like, you know what I mean? That them being the number 1 red zone defense saved their butt. But overall, they're kind of just like top 10-ish right now.
I see that.
This morning on Good Morning Football, on Fridays, they have Brandon Graham as one of their analysts, whatever. And so they ask, so are you still around the facility? He's like, oh yeah, I still have a locker there. Not in the team locker room, but there's another locker room. So he has access. He's able to work out with them. And they're joking. They're like, hey, so is the GM ever talking to you about, hey, we need some pass rush. Would you mind just coming in for 3rd downs? So they don't have the pass rush. They have the other gap. So because that was one of their strengths last year. They were able to rotate 3-4 guys. They lost him to retirement. They lost others to free agency. So it'll take them a while to fill that vacuum.
Yeah, I'd say in the middle of the defense, they're still good, right? But like on the outsides, it's kind of where they're having issues.
They didn't
so.
perform that great against the Chiefs, though. So, like, I mean, that
No.
might just be a one-game trend, and then it might go back. But their defensive line overall played pretty bad.
We'll see long term. But so this is a funny thing. All 5 of us have a bird at number, or all 3 of us have a bird at 5, right? So that's funny.
True.
But we all are we're throwing the LA teams on there. So me and Hype both have the Chargers. Dave, you probably just took them off the list. And then we've all got the Rams. So let's talk about the Rams for a second, because they've got a big game coming up against those Eagles, right? So we were talking about it earlier. I think the Rams are going to win because I think their defense is going to be able to keep the Eagles offense off the board. But the Rams right now, with their pass rush, with their speed on defense, and just their ability to kind of take away the ball. Another thing I was talking about earlier, average depth of target, the Rams are actually like top 3 in that as well, because they get to the quarterback so fast because their defensive line is good, is that they're not getting a lot of deep passes on them. And if you look at Jalen Hurts' numbers, he's got a ton of passes under 10 yards and then a couple passes over 20, and he's got nothing from like 10 yards to 18 yards on the season so far.
Literally nothing.
Yeah, literally nothing. So I think that plays right into what the Rams want him to do, right? They want him to throw quick passes, kind of like what the Packers did against the Lions. And with that pass rush and with their quick, speedy linebackers, like they're just going to wrap everybody up, right? So I actually think the Rams defense is really scary. I couldn't put the Packers number 1 yet because I don't want to jinx myself. That's more of the reason why the Packers are number 2 for me, because I was like, if I put them number 1, the Browns are going to score 28 points on us, right?
I'll tell you, there's a reason that the Packers can be number 1 is for non-garbage time points. They are by far and away.
That's true.
Like way beyond better than everyone else EPA-wise on defense.
No, that's true. The Rams have given up 2 touchdowns, and the Packers have given up 4. But 2 of those were garbage time touchdowns.
Yeah, and so if you look at EPA, their EPA per play is negative 0.2, and then the second place, the Niners, is 0.16. That's a huge gap.
Right.
And then after the Niners, everyone's kind of similar. So there's this huge gap between everybody and the Packers.
Yep. No, and I almost had the Niners on here too, but I got to see it a little bit more. I know Robert Saleh is a really good defensive coordinator, but they got a lot of young guys on that team, so I'm not quite terrified of them yet. I think they could be here at the end of the season for me, but not quite yet. But yeah, I think Rams and Packers for me are very similar. I think the Rams have a little bit more that I'm afraid of when it comes to the pass rush, because Micah, as great as Micah is, right? I think Gary doesn't scare me as much as the second best pass rushers and third best pass rushers on the.
Yeah, but LVN stepping up this year too.
He is, and if LVN keeps taking steps forward, like yes, I might.
In fact, their whole defensive line, Wyatt, is playing out of his mind. Like,
yeah, he really
he's
is
batting down passes. Like he's like in the zone where he can't do anything wrong. He's always in the right place. It's like BJ Raji style.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick the best defensive line, I'd say Rams, Texans, Packers are kind of all in there for me. But for linebackers, I'd say the Packers with their 2 are probably the best linebacker, non-pass rushing linebacker group. But secondary wise, we have great safeties, cornerbacks. Keyshawn Nixon, you had a great game. That doesn't mean I'm ready to crown you yet, but I think the Rams have a little bit more there as well. So that's all, but it's really close for me. And the Bolts, I mean, any Harbaugh run team is going to have a good defense. The Ravens don't look great this year, but they'll get there. Trust me. The Chargers are going to be good. So
the
LA
Chargers kind of remind me of the Packers.
Defenses.
They have these like dynamic linebackers and pass rushers that kind of are just making plays happen.
And honestly, if you look at the Chargers defense, like other than what's their strong safety's name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Derwin James, thank you. They don't have a ton of big names, now that Bosa's out of town. So
they had a bunch of guys come off the practice squad and the no-name guys step up and play amazing this last couple games.
So you just know the Chargers are going to do what they're supposed to do because they're putting the right guys in, maybe not the big guys in, right? So I really like that. But yeah, I don't have the Broncos on here. So I noticed you guys still have them at 4. You still have faith. But I don't know, man. I know the Colts are on a bit of a heater, so that might be a one-off. But the Broncos,
I told you it's not they're on a heater. It's just they're good.
Well,
they're good.
I'm not there yet, Dave.
Great defenses struggle a little bit against good teams on the road.
All right, Dave. The
They're
Saints
still a great defense.
The Saints looked amazing 2 years ago for the first 2 games. So I'm not bought yet.
But dude, this is
a roster construction though. This is the head coach who's had this offense there for 3
Yeah.
years. Everybody on the team knows the offense except the quarterback.
And Shane Steichen is a good coach. Like I think he is a good coach. So
well, the thing is, like, the Broncos
that.
as defense has a weakness. If you have a great offensive line that can run block and block well, like, you have a chance, because the Broncos have a great elite secondary, maybe the best in the league. If you look at EPA on long downs, on like 3rd and 10, the Broncos are number 1 in the league, right? But on 1st and 2nd down, when people are running and doing like little dump off passes, they're not very good. So if you have a team like the Colts that has a beefy O-line, and I was listening to the Denver radio today, and they said they went back and watched the tape, and he said the Colts O-line was literally just dominating the Broncos defensive line, just pushing them around physically, like power-wise. But the Colts can do that, and that's part of the reason they're doing so well this year, is that O-line's really like powerful and strong. But if you don't have an O-line that can do that, the Broncos, I still think, can dominate you on defense.
And I don't even think the Colts game made me hate on the Broncos. It was actually the Titans game. Like, if you watch that game, Cam Ward, in his very first NFL game ever, was dealing a little bit, and there was a bunch of wide receiver drops and mistakes, and the rest of the Titans team looked like crap. But Cam didn't seem to be having a ton of issues. He did get sacked a lot, but he was holding the ball. Their offensive line didn't do a great job, but there was a ton of wide receiver drops and a ton of mistakes to where they had a chance to beat Denver in that game, and it kind of fell away from them because they're a bad team. Denver's defense did not look dominant at all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're close to being off my list also. Them and the Eagles are real close to dropping off this list if they don't step it up.
I definitely, I mean, the Broncos are still kind of there for me, but like the Niners, I need to see a little bit more, because I'm actually a little disappointed in Denver's defense right now.
The thing is that their pass secondary, even though they probably made some mistakes, is still rated number 1 on long, like 3rd and long. They're the best. So
they've got
even
really
though they've looked terrible,
coverage.
they could become even better.
Yep. And then we got the Browns on here, like we talked about. So we pretty much covered everybody right now. As of the start of week 3, these are the top 5 defenses we wouldn't want our team to play, right? So that's where we're at. All right. So that was a fun segment. Let's